Hey, what's up everybody? Jack here with devslopes.com, and today we're back from the Southern Command Center to continue our iOS client app that we're building for our API course. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now in the last lesson, the last video, we made the main view controller, and we set up our main view. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to create a login view controller. And what's going to happen is, if you'll remember in the API, we locked down all of our post routes. So anytime we need to post data to add a new food truck or add a new review, we're going to have to either register and log in or make sure that that client is already logged in and has a token. So we're going to set up a login VC, and we're going to use a nib here. We're going to load a nib up, and we're just going to present that in the event that the user does not have a token. And that'll allow us to grab a token, and then from that point forward, we'll store it. And then you won't have to go back and get it again unless it expires. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come here to our main view controller. And we're going to need a variable here for our login VC. So we're just going to have var login VC here. And it's going to be of type login VC, which does not exist yet. And that's going to be optional. So we need to create that. So over here in our view, I'm going to right click and say new file. And this is going to be a Cocoa Touch class. And we're going to change this to UI view controller. Not a table view controller, just a plain UI view controller. And we're going to call this login VC. Now we're also going to create a nib or zip file here so that we can, this is going to be standalone. So we'll click create, and it creates both of those files here. Now we're going to move the login vc.swift file down here to our controllers. And we're going to leave our login VC nib file up here in our views. So let me just bump those around just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go into Interface Builder here and select our view. And for size, I'm going to choose freeform. It really won't matter because this is going to be full screen anyway, but we're going to go ahead and choose freeform. And then on our login VC, we need a couple things, or about 4 things actually. We need username text field, we need a password text field, a submit button, and a cancel button. And actually 5 things, because we're going to need a label. So we're going to drag a label up here to the top, and we're just going to say must be logged in to post. And I'm just going to drag that over here. We're just going to center that horizontally in container. I'm going to give it a fixed width and height and pin it to the top about 40. Alright. Now we're going to need a text field. So I'm going to drag a text field up here. Just somewhere about there. And then I'm going to hold down Option and click and drag that down. That's going to give me another one. Now for these text fields, I'm going to put in some placeholder text here. And I'm just going to put email in the top one. And then I'm going to put password in the bottom one. Now I'm going to come over here to the keyboard I've got email selected here. And I'm going to set the correction to no, spell checking to no. Keyboard type I'm going to set to email. Default appearance, return key, that all looks good. And then we're going to come down here to password and kind of do the same thing, except we're going to check the secure text entry box here. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it a password field so that your password isn't just in plain text out there. Alright, now we need to grab a couple of buttons. So I'm going to grab a button and put it somewhere about right there. Hold down Option and drag it over and put another one. We're going to change these to say log in and cancel. Alright. So actually, let's put these in a stack view maybe. Let's just see what that looks like. All right. So we've got those there. Let's drag them over to the center. And then I'm going to put about, how much spacing do I want? I'm going to put about 100 for the spacing there. You know, actually, maybe 150 looks better. All right. So we're going to put those right there in the center. And then I'm going to go ahead and for the stack view, I am going to center horizontally in container. And then I'm going to hold down control and drag up here to this, and we're going to pin the vertical spacing. I didn't set these though. We need to do this first. So we need to, let's see, I've got all that pinned. I need to control click here, and we're going to do vertical spacing and center horizontally, add constraints. Oh, and I've got to give it a height and width. So we're going to do a width of 264. It has an intrinsic height, so I'm not going to set that. We'll see what that looks like. Okay. So now I need to do the same thing here. We're going to control, drag up. We're going to do vertical spacing, center horizontally, and add the constraints. And then I'm going to pull up my pin here and do the width and add that. Okay. All right, so I think we're good to go there. So we've got login, cancel, email, and password. And actually, I'm going to change the background here just a tad. I'm going to give it just a real, let me pull up the color wheel here. We're going to give it just a real slight gray, just so those kind of stand out a little bit. All right. All right, so let's save that. And we've got an error here. Oh, this is because of this login VC here. But that's good because we just created that. All right, so our zip file's laid out here. Now we can go to our login vc.swift, and I can get rid of all this navigation stuff. And we've got a couple of IB outlets here. And this is going to be, let me think for just 1 second. We're going to have an email text field and a password text field. Email text field. And then we're also going to have an IB outlet, weak var, and that's going to be password text field. All right. Now we don't need to do anything in view did load. But we need a couple of functions here for the login button tapped and the cancel button tapped. And then we're also going to have one for show alert. So let's go ahead and work on the cancel button first. That's the easiest to start with. So we're going to say IB action func and cancel button tapped. Sender is a UI button. And then there, all we're going to say is self.dismiss. Animated is true. And completion is nil. And that's all we've got to do there. Now then, I'm going to skip down. We're going to do one for show alert first. So if we get an incorrect password or something, I want to show an alert with a message. So we're going to set up a new function to take care of this. And it's just going to be called show alert. And it's going to take a title and a message. Okay, and those are optional. And so for our title, we're going to pass in the title. For the message, we're going to pass in the message. And then for the style, we're going to say .alert. All right, now we need a couple of actions. We need a cancel action. Actually, we just need an OK action. So we're going to say let OK action equals UI alert action. And then we need this title here. And title is just going to be OK. The style is going to be .default. And then for the handler, we're just going to make that nil. That's all we need there. So now we've got our controller, we've got our action. Now we need to add the action. So we just say alert controller.add action and then OK action. And then now we just need to present it. So we just say present. And then right here we specify our alert controller. Animated is true. Completion is nil. And that takes care of our alert controller. So now if we want to show alert, all we've got to do is call this method. And it will show an alert with the title and message that we pass in. All right, so now then we get back to our biggest function in this here. So it's just going to be an IB action again. And the sender is going to be a UI button. All right, now here we need to guard that those fields are not empty or nil. So we're going to guard let email equal email text field dot text, and then comma, and we're also going to guard that the email text field dot text is not equal to an empty string. And then we're going to say let pass is equal to password field, password text field dot text, and that password text field dot text is not equal to an empty string. Else, if one of those cases if it happens to be the case that one is either null or nil or empty, then we're going to hit our guard statement here, and we'll just say self dot show alert, and then for here we'll just say error, and for the message we'll say please enter an email and a password to continue. All right, and then from there we're going to return. So there's our guard statement. We're just guarding that those text fields actually have valid data in them. Otherwise, we're going to show an alert and make them re-enter it. So provided we have values there, now we need to turn to our auth service and our methods we set up in the other video. So we just need to say auth service.instance.register user, email, password, and completion callback. So the way we're going to do this, if you remember, it's a two-step process. You've got to register first, and then you have to log in. Well, I don't want that to be a two-step process. I want to do it all in one step. So we're going to chain the login inside the register call here. So we're first going to check for register. And if you'll remember in the register user where we check for either a status 200 or 409, 409 was already exists. Well, if it already exists, we don't care. We're going to continue on and try to log in with that username. And if it's the wrong password, it'll pop up an error message saying incorrect password. So we need to pass in our email here. So we'll just say email, password is pass. And then for our completion, we're going to say success in. And if you'll remember, our completion handler has that one bool and returns void. So what we're doing here is this will either be true or false. And where we call those or passed in true or false to those completion handlers, we'll get that back here. So what we can do here is we can say if success, and then we can say auth service. So if it was successful on the registration, we'll say auth service.instance.login, And again, we're going to pass in our email and password. And then completion here is success as well. All right. So now we're in the login. So we can check for success here. So we can say if success. And then from there, we know if we reach this point, we know we're successful. So what we can do is we can just dismiss this view controller because the work is done. At that point, we've registered, or the user already exists. We've moved on and we've gone to login, and the login was successful. So if we hit this success point here, we were successful. So all we've got to do here is just say self.dismiss. Animated is true, completion is nil. All right. Now, if we get back false here for success, now we can show an alert. Now, in this closure here, we may need to grab the main thread to do this. So we're going to do that again. We're going to say operation queue.main.add operation. And then there, we're just going to say self.showAlert. And the message is going to be, or the title is going to be error. And the message is going to be incorrect password. Because we know if we get to this login call and we don't have success, we know that the password was incorrect. Because we went through the register step and we know we have a user by that username. So if we reach this point, we know that it was an incorrect password. So we can just show this alert here. And then we'll jump down here to this else. And we'll do the same thing here. And here we'll just say self.showAlert and error. And the message, we're just going to say unknown. We'll just say an unknown error occurred, saving the account. So the only way we're going to get to here, and this is from the register call. The only way we're going to get to here from the register call is if we get something besides a status code 200 or 409. And at that point, we really don't know what the error is. We're just going to print out kind of a generic message here. So I'm going to save that, and I believe that pretty much takes care of those. Let me go back to our zip file here, and we need to wire up some outlets. So we've got an email text field, we've got a password text field, and we've got a login button, and touch up inside, and we have a cancel button, touch up inside. All right. So there's that. Now we need to turn back to our main view controller. So we've got our login VC declared here. So now we need to actually show the login VC when we need to. So let me go back to our main storyboard. Now remember I said we're going to have a plus button up here. And the plus button is going to be to add a new food truck. And I said we were going to use gesture recognizers. Let's just see what just a regular button looks like up here. Let me put that there, take out the text. And for the image, we're going to choose plus button. That looks awful big. Let's see if I can resize it here. That doesn't look too bad. I'm going to leave that right there. Shrink it down a little bit more. And then let's go ahead and pin it. I'm going to give it a height and width. Let's try 25, just see what that looks like. And I'm going to pin it to the bottom and 20 to the right. And then let me update the frames here. So that doesn't look too bad. That may actually work out okay. Let me go back to main VC here. And I'm going to change these to UI button. Oh no. That's a UI table view. This right here, I'm going to change the UI button. Okay. So let me save that and then go back to the main storyboard. And let's get our add button. Actually, we don't need an outlet. We need an action. Because it's not an image anymore. I'm not worried about a gesture recognizer. So we'll do IB action func. Add button tapped. Sender is a UI button. All right. Let me save that and go back. And now then, we've got add button tapped with sender. So I can wire that up, touch up inside. Kind of makes you feel dirty. Okay. So we've got our add button. So now then, what we need to do is we need to go to our code again. And for our add button, we need to say if auth service.instance.is authenticated. If that's equal to true, then we need to perform segue with identifier. And the identifier for this is going to be show add truck VC. We haven't created this yet, but we will create that here shortly. So we'll just say sender's self. And then we can say else. So if we're not authenticated, we're going to come to here. And all we're going to do is just say show login VC. We haven't created this function yet either, but we're about to. So we can come right up here. And we can say func show login VC. And it's not going to take any parameters. And all we've got to do is just say login VC, which we declared up at the top, is equal to login VC. We're going to instantiate that. Then we can say login VC dot modal presentation style is equal to UI modal presentation style dot form sheet. And then all we've got to do is just say self dot present, and then we're going to present login VC, and animated is true, completion is nil. So there's our login VC, our show login VC. All right, so we're moving on pretty good here. So when we tap that button, we're going to go here and we're going to check to see if we are authenticated or not. If we are, we're going to go to this segue, this show add truck VC. Otherwise, we're going to show the login. So let's just see if I'm forgetting anything. Let's go ahead and run here. See if it immediately crashes on us or not. Oh, I almost forgot. It's a different day and I don't have Mongo running, or so. Oh, we got to run MongoD. My bad. And then we've got to fire up our development server. So let me do that and stop this, and let's rerun it again. So there we go. We're up and running. We've got our items here again. Now then, the way we've got this set up, if I click this plus button, we're not authenticated currently. So when I click this, it should take us to a login VC. So let's just try it and see. And there we go. So you see here, must be logged in to post. So let's try, let's see, I've got an account. Let's just try Jack at devslopes.com. And we'll just log in with just say, and that's the wrong password. So let's hit login and see what happens. We get an error, incorrect password. So that's good. So we went through the registration, and you see here we got a 409. And then when I entered the wrong password, we get a 401, and we get this incorrect password message here. So that's good. So now let me enter the correct password and hit login, and we get 200 response back. Our view controller is gone. So at this point we are logged in, and you shouldn't be prompted to log in anymore because that is stored in user defaults. So we shouldn't be prompted anymore. So we're cooking with grease here. We're moving on. Next, we need to move on and create a view controller so we can add a new food truck. So that's where we're going next. We're gonna, we already can authenticate here when we hit a plus button, or when we hit a add new food truck. Now, once we get this app completed, when you go to one of these, you click it and you go to the details. If you go to add new review there, if you're not authenticated, it'll ask you to authenticate there as well. And we're going to use the same view in order to do that. So anyway, we're making good progress here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the next video, and we will look at adding the add new food truck VC. And we'll continue to roll on. So we'll see you in the next video.